70 as we've seen them going off the invalid's benefit in the DPB.
That brings to a close questions for oral answer. Today, would some honourable member care to move the House take note of miscellaneous business? The Honourable Annette King.
I so move, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, the rain has been pouring down. There is snow in the south and gales in the north, and winter is well and truly settling around New Zealand. Kiwis are battening down the hatches, and it made me think of my old 89-year-old father. And I picture him at this moment, Mr Speaker, sitting at home trying to keep warm. He won't have his heater up very high, and he won't want to do what he calls run up a power bill. But what I know is he isn't going to be on his own. There are going to be thousands of older New Zealanders doing exactly the same. They're going to be worrying about how they're going to get through this winter. They're going to be worrying about how they're going to pay their bills. And they're also wondering why John Key wants to sell our assets, our power companies. And they are bemused as to why John Key thinks selling something they already own and getting a one-off chunk of money is going to make New Zealand better off. Because they know that it's a done deal by this national government. They know that the money from the sale of their assets has already been banked in the government's budget documents. They know that the consultants have already been engaged and are rubbing their hands with glee as they hear ka-ching, ka-ching. The cheques are flowing, and dozens of officials are getting the assets ready for sale as we speak. And all the while, the Prime Minister, John Key, is using those honeyed words and sleight of hand to reassure New Zealanders they get to choose if the assets are sold at the election. Well, you can't fool all the people all the time, and you certainly cannot fool older New Zealanders. John Key might think those in grey power and those who are retired don't quite understand, that they're out of touch and they don't count. But I think he has made a terrible mistake, because older New Zealanders know that they paid for those assets that he wants to sell. They know that they own them already. So it's no surprise to me that grey power, who have a membership of over 77,000 members, have come out very strongly opposed to state assets sell-off. They have made it very clear in their recent Grey Power magazine they are opposed to it. And they had this to say: how the government can imagine that selling off more of our assets is going to improve anything is beyond reason and totally unacceptable. That is from the major organisation representing older people in New Zealand. They know the rhetoric about them getting to buy a piece of the asset is nothing more than hogswash, because they know that according to Stats New Zealand, 81% of older New Zealanders live on the pension alone, and they don't have other money to go out and buy what they already own, our power companies that they went out to work and paid taxes for and bought over time. They know that there is no such thing as the mum and dad investor, that this is being sold to New Zealanders as a ploy by the national government to sweeten the sale of assets people do not want to sell. They also know that those who are going to buy these assets are the big overseas investors, and they know because they've watched the sale of Contact Energy and watched their power prices go up far more under that privately owned company than under the state-owned companies. They know that Contact Energy is not owned by mum and dad investors today. In fact, it was bye-bye mum and dad investors and bye-bye New Zealand ownership. And if there's one thing that New Zealanders, older New Zealanders want, it is to retain the things they paid for in their working life here in New Zealand. Now, I am very pleased that the National Party in this House today pooh-poohed the idea that Grey Power don't want to sell our assets. They tried to make out that they're very happy about this mixed model. Well, I can tell the National Party, think again, because you're going to hear plenty from older New Zealanders in the very near future.
Question is that the motion be agreed to. The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, hearing a lecture